Hey, you're about to hear our brand new podcast, My Crazy Family. And if you like it, I need your help. To let other folks know that this show exists, we need reviews on Apple Podcasts. So if you got about 10, 15 free seconds, please head over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a quick review, and I'll make it worth your while. Send me a screenshot of that review, and I'll enter you into a contest to win a $500 Amazon gift card. So leave the review on Apple Podcasts, send me the screenshot to contest@crazyfampod.com. That's contest@crazyfampod.com. And later in the year, we'll randomly pick someone for that $500 Amazon gift card. So please leave that review at Apple Podcasts, then send me the screenshot. Contest@crazyfampod.com. And thanks. You know, everybody's mom is usually into something. Sometimes it's crafting. Sometimes it's collecting mom jeans. There's always something.
But what if your mom is into going to funerals because that's her thing?
I wonder what the motivation would be for something like that. Is it the tiny sandwiches or maybe the delicious Sanka coffee? We'll find out today on My Crazy Family.
My crazy family.
My crazy
Family.
Welcome to the program and My Crazy Family. Be sure to press subscribe wherever you download podcasts so you don't miss any episodes of our program. We do greatly appreciate that. And if you have a crazy family story, go to our website, crazyfampod.com. And you can submit your story right there, right on the front page. There's a form. You just fill it out anonymously and send it on over. And we will use it on the air. We'd love to hear your story. And again, you can do it completely anonymously. Say it in your own words if you want. I'll even disguise your voice if you request it to. 833-CRAY-FAM, 833-272-9326 is the phone number. Again, 833-272-9326 to share your crazy family story. Tony and Stacy with you today.
Hey, and don't forget, we've got a fabulous contest going too, that if you leave us a review, just screenshot it and send it to contest@crazyfampod.com for a chance to win a $500 Amazon gift card.
Yes. So please do that. Do that screenshot there on an Apple Podcast. Why Apple? Because that seems to be where like 90% of podcasts are downloaded, and they have the review section there. So please do leave us that review. If you don't use Apple Podcasts, but there's a place to leave a review wherever you get it, send me that screenshot too, and I'll enter you as well. Contest@crazyfampod.com. Partly cloudy today, 72. Tomorrow.
Hey,
You jumped right in there with the contest. It totally reminded me of radio. It was great.
And did you see how triggered I just got?
Uh-huh.
Stop it.
It was like old times.
Oh my God, I got to call my therapist now. Thanks a lot.
No, but that was great. You were right there with it. That's it's like you've done this for like decades of your life or something.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, sunny and 72 today.
Crazy
Chance
family
rain
stories.
tonight. Grab your umbrella.
I have crazy family stories. And they're not really family anymore, but there's things that happen that I go, this is going to be show content someday when I feel more comfortable sharing it on the air. I need to just start writing a fucking book or something, or write like I was going to say a manifesto. But no,
it's going to play out like that.
Exactly. But like literally just a list of these things, because I'll forget them over time. But everybody's got crazy in their family. And sometimes you just got to kind of roll with it and go, okay, well, I hope things work out.
And that's all you can do, because you don't want to get too involved. You want to just kind of, stand back, maybe sit down on the bench a little bit, eat some popcorn and watch the mayhem, you know?
Put yourself in a protective glass, bulletproof bubble. And watch it play out. It's kind of like watching animals at the zoo sometimes when it comes to family members and their behaviors. Like, what are they going to do now? Is that monkey going to go over there? Is he going to eat that banana? Is he going to play with the ball? Oh, he's going to fuck the other monkey over that. Oh, that one doesn't look like he's liking that. That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to abandon his child now. That's really fucking weird. It's a monkey. Yeah, it's fucking monkeys.
Hey, we're really not that far off from being those monkeys, you know?
Oh, true. Yeah. People,
And if you look at our society, some of us are in cages because we cannot be trusted.
I would say that there's a lot of monkeys that probably do better than the human counterparts in terms of caring for their young and just being responsible parents. Quite honestly, monkeys, I think, outdo a lot of adult parents.
I agree. Absolutely.
Like they have the instinct. People sometimes, I think, lose it. Let's go to our first story here. What do we got going on?
All right. Well, this person did put a name, and I'm not going to use it just out of respect. I don't want to go there. So it says, a few years ago, I finally cut off my mother. She really screwed me up over my life, and I won't talk about that. But she ended up trying to contact me through any means possible. She would relay information through my dad, who divorced her when I was a preteen, good for him, to try to get me to talk to her. One of my favorite attempts, she had him request that I call her so she could help me control my powers so that I don't use them for evil. She was worried that my inherited psychic powers would manifest and that I would weaponize them. This is interesting. Anyway, karma has caught up with her, and she married a man with kids that were pre-screwed up. And the older boy does things like peeing into the vents for revenge.
Oh, hey, that seems like a normal thing that everyone would do. Peeing into the vents for revenge. Wow.
You know, I never thought about that, but that's wickedly evil.
Oh, that would cause a lot of problems, too. I mean, you'd get mold and whatever. I mean, pee technically is, it's an acid, and it actually is fairly sterile.
I was going to say, it is sterile until it leaves the body.
Yeah, and then you're going to get mold, and you're going to have pee smell through everything, and that's going to go through your entire HVAC system.
Yeah.
Effectively, if not eradicated early on, you could need a whole new HVAC system because liquid got in there.
Well, and if you've ever had an animal that has, well, and I'm not likening this kid to an animal, but maybe
I am.
An animal who has been inappropriately urinating in the house, you have to replace what they peed on. Otherwise, that you can't get rid of that smell. I mean, Nature's Miracle is a great product for that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Recommended a lot in the veterinary world, but it doesn't get rid of it. It just lessens it to a point. It just can't get rid of all of it. It can't. Yeah,
it's there. I remember I had a situation once where I just finished creating a little den room in my house. This was back in Branson. And I literally built the room, like put up the walls, did the drywall. I physically built the damn thing. I didn't hire somebody for it either. I did it myself. And I was really proud of it. And I was like, this is great. Little, it was also like a little like homework area too, for the kids, because there was no windows. It was just kind of a little quiet place. And it was great if you wanted to go like watch TV and sit on the couch there and just be in silence. So happy about it. Directly above it was my stepdaughter's room at the time. And this child lied about literally almost everything. Okay. And it was, we got to the point of utter insanity because her toilet, she had her own bathroom up there, overflowing, literally water coming out from underneath the door. And then also going into the ventilation system, the little vent that's on the floor there in the bathroom. Yeah, going there. And it starts coming through the vents and through the ceiling. Ceiling literally, by the time I got down there and realized, oh my God, it was like collapsing in.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole time, I didn't do it.
Well, then who did?
Well,
a ghost?
Clearly you did. Just tell me what happened so I can eradicate this and fix this. Like, what happened? I didn't have anything to do with it. I just flushed my toilet. Yes, you clearly flushed your toilet and it was clogged. And you waited like an hour to tell anyone. And even then, as water is still flowing, and this child was old enough to have a sense that this was just like 12, 13 at the time. like to know, right and wrong. We're not dealing with a toddler here that, oops, I put a toy in the toilet. Like, no, overflowed, denied for days. To the point where I was like, there is something wrong here. And if this person can bold-face do this. And totally just destroyed that little room with the water getting into the vent. Had to replace tons of the HVAC system because the water got in there, and some of the pieces have like something in there that absorbs moisture, but if you get actual like water in it, it destroys it. It's not designed for waterfalls, and had to rip all of that out, and it was a fucking nightmare. Nightmare. So
well, and you have to deal with mold. You have to deal with all of that crap. I mean, you have to redo the entire room.
I did. God. It was disgusting. It was raining, pee water because it was a toilet. So fun. It was so fun. Those were the days. Those are the days I look back on and go, oh, I wish I could relive that.
Did said child ever fess up and go, yeah, I guess I did that?
No, said child is a compulsive liar. And don't really have much of a part in that life anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, not Harper, right. Not Harper at all. But yeah.
No, God, no. All right. Well, on to our next crazy family story.
Yeah.
My sister, who was a very beautiful person, was newly engaged with a man who was in the Air Force. His family was from California. She brought him home, and as could be always counted on, as sure as the sun rises in the east, our mother went into crazy hell-raising mode. The fiance's family really refused to allow him to marry my sister due to the fact that marrying into a family like this was a bad sign. Later on, we're all driving back from a vacation, and a car full of young men stopped next to us. My mother told my sister, "They're looking at you." My sister rolled down the window and said, "My mother says you're looking at me." Jesus. One of my mother's favorite things was instilling fear into us. Don't cross the street. Don't drive. It's dangerous. She refused to allow me to drive her in the car because she wouldn't have control and she would freak out. Well, fast forward a few years. My sister had married a man from Ohio. The minute he walked into the house, my mother accused him of cheating on my sister. Actually, we dismissed it as the ravings of a madwoman, since she is quite possibly the most negative person we have ever known. But she was right on the mark, actually. I guess it takes one to know one. My sister's husband was taking weekend trips to visit other women, and eventually my sister divorced him. My mother was always creating imaginary illnesses, probably for attention from doctors. And she had this intense fascination for funerals. She went to nearly every funeral in town, even if she didn't know the person.
Oh my God. That's weird.
Yeah, that's where the story takes a turn. She would even call me up to say, "Did you know that so-and-so passed away?" And then I would be so lucky as to get all of the details. Another thing was how she managed to get entangled in legal issues. Strangely enough, when she would get on the stand in court, so she'd actually have to be in court. Oh my God. She'd get on the stand in court and cry. They would usually award her money. All of the closets in the house were full of her clothes, purses, and shoes, leaving no room for anybody else's stuff. By the way, that stuff was bought with the child support checks my father gave her for my brothers and me. Fast forward again. My sister was in the hospital nearly dying, and my mother was back at her house taking inventory of the dishes. When my sister passed away, my mother said that we don't need probate for the estate because she's above the law. This and other shenanigans resulted in the loss of thousands of dollars. When one of my sister's houses were sold, my mother nearly threw all of it away at the casinos. All her life, as long as I knew her, she woke before the sun would rise and worked nonstop, but was also super negative, nonstop, creating super toxicity. Dark, low energy was what she loved. And what she really loved was to get on the phone and talk to her equally toxic friends about how bad my brother and I were when we were sitting in the same room listening to her. By the way, I've spent years in therapy. This isn't even 1% of what took place.
It's amazing what people are capable of doing to their children. Or to their own lives too.
This mom reminds me of my dad quite a bit.
Yeah.
My dad, thank God the internet wasn't around when he was alive, because he would have been on WebMD looking up every possible illness that he could have had. He ended up with a PDR, a physician's desk reference book.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of like a whole compendium of things that could possibly be going on
it's the equivalency
in the
of,
human body.
Equivalency of Googling it today, of WebMDing it today.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was able to, I mean, if he woke up and coughed, he was looking up what could possibly be wrong. Didn't matter that, it's allergy season or whatever, or you swallowed wrong. There's something really wrong. Dad's dying again. And I'll never forget, my mom one day was like, will you just die already? The fucker was dying, quote unquote, dying for years and never had a diagnosis. He was diabetic, but it wasn't so bad at the time that he was dying from it. He just was always saying he was dying. Yet he still persisted.
And it's like, technically, we're all dying. We're all getting older. We're all going to die. But some people really like to take that out of context and make it a pity point of, oh, this is going on, and my goodness, what's going to happen? And if there's not health issues, then there's going to be issues somewhere else.
Absolutely.
That will pull the attempt to pull people in and get attention, good or bad. That's the scary part with a lot of these types of people is it doesn't matter to them. Like they get the same sort of, I don't know if joy is the right word, but there's something that clicks, and then fulfillment, I think, is the right word. It's some sort of sick fulfillment that they crave. And the only way they know how to get it is through chaos, because nothing else gets it to them that quickly. It's almost like it's like a drug, that they're like, you can get high on life by just not doing drugs and having a good life and going and experiencing interesting things and doing good things and living without, a substance getting you there. But it's a hell of a lot quicker if you just take the drug to kind of feel like that. So, and it's the same with chaos. It's a hell of a lot quicker to jump into chaos or have the presentation of chaos to everyone than it is to do something good and have the attention brought to you in a positive light for something that is well deserved. Both are attention, but they'll just take whatever they can get by acting out in ways that are going to create a chaotic fucking life.
Absolutely, 100%. And let's not forget about this intense fascination for funerals.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Fuck is that?
Is that an attention thing? Is that I know someone who died? Because automatically when you say I went to a funeral, I'm so sorry to hear for your loss or something. And it's like a tidbit. It's a free sample of sympathy that you give someone without really knowing anything about the connection to this human being that's dead.
Wow. Yeah, that's exactly what that is. Because why else would you be going to a funeral there that you don't even know the person?
Because
like you said, is it for the sandwiches?
And well, you're going to mingle a little bit. You're going to probably talk to other people, and they're going to, how do you know so and so? They'll probably just say shit. Oh, I'm so sorry. And then they end up getting pity at the funeral. They're going to the funeral to basically suck energy. They're like vampires. And if it's not sick enough to just do it to your loved ones outside of a funeral, you're literally going to a place where other people are mourning and trying to get sympathy from them for you. You're trying. Yeah. And that's kind of one of the ultimate narcissistic, weird fucking things that people like that do in that family of disorders.
I think, you landed on it, because even people I've known, I have avoided their funerals because I don't want any part of, I don't want to be there. I don't want to see the body. I don't want to,
sure.
There's just a whole spectrum of things that I can't deal with. I've been to a few funerals in my life, but for the most part, I will just send condolences, let the people know I'm so sorry for your loss, but I can't go. Yeah. I don't want to see that casket. I don't want to see a body. I don't want to walk in and have that rush of whatever that smell is that overcomes you when you walk in the door.
Mm-hmm. Funeral smell.
I can't do it.
It's body odor, and it's Sanka coffee. That's what a funeral home smells like. The only place I ever see instant coffee anymore, and it's not even like the good Starbucks crystals, which actually are pretty good. It's Senka. It's fucking Senka still. And people are like, what's Senka? Senka was instant coffee. It was cheap instant coffee, because I think Folgers or Maxwell House had one too, and they probably still do. But it's basically these crystals you put in warm water, they melt. It's like Kool-Aid coffee. It's never very good, but it resembles coffee. And why there wouldn't be a coffee maker or something at a funeral home, I don't know, but there was always Senka at every funeral I've gone to. It's like, let's find the instant coffee. And I just kind of laugh about it because I see it every time. I don't go to many funerals, or haven't in years, but in Wisconsin, that seemed to be what I'd always say.
That is a very big deal. And it's always out of a shitty cup.
Yeah.
So you're tasting the cup as well. You're not just tasting what's in the cup, but the actual, what the cup is made out of is also part of the taste experience. Yeah.
So you get a little bit of the styrofoam or possibly the plasticky material. It's one of the two. And you go, that's got to be good for you. On top of the, whatever the hell this is that just dissolved in my cup, type thing. And there's usually not cream and sugar. There's one or the other. And that's it.
Yeah.
Sorry for your loss. Here's some shitty coffee. Gosh.
That's one thing that I think funeral homes could do a better job at, is the coffee experience, because you're thirsty, you're crying, you're grieving, and you need something. Where the fuck is the cream?
Yeah. Where the fuck?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be so emotional about this, but you bringing that up, that's exactly how my experience was at a funeral. The last one I went to, I'm trying to think, it was before the pandemic. And I went to one during the pandemic, but whatever. The last time they actually were serving something at a funeral home, and the coffee was awful. It was barely even black. It was kind of a grayish. It was just gross. And there was no cream. And I'm a Starbucks girl. I want my coffee to be light brown. Black coffee makes me cranky. I need cream. Don't hand me sugar. I need both.
Yeah.
I will. I'm on a soapbox here. Sorry about that.
I will give Wisconsin funerals this credit, because I guess I didn't realize that it's kind of a thing up there. But so many times you go to one and then they'll have a little like reception after. It's not usually just the funeral. And depending on if it's like at a church or something, every woman above the age of 60 who attends that church will have created some sort of a hot dish or dessert. Yeah. And you will literally have a buffet that's the size of a restaurant buffet, and every type of fattening food you'd ever want is right there. And then everybody gets together and they mingle, and it almost feels like a wedding reception after someone's dead. And it's rather bizarre. I even saw one where like gifts were given out, and it was like, what the fuck is this?
What?
Yeah, it was like, it was gifts to the family, to some of the brothers, of like a remembrance of the brother who had passed away. And
like swag bags.
Not quite. I forgot what it was. And it was like a watch or something that has a name on it. It was something like that meant something. But again, it was just kind of weird, someone getting a gift at a funeral. I could see doing that, outside of the funeral, like, hey, I got this for you to remember your brother by. But there's like literally like opening of the gifts.
Oh, God. How can we turn this into something a little more festive?
It's like, he's dead. Let's open it. And sometimes there's drinking going on at these two, in Wisconsin especially.
In Wisconsin, yes.
Yeah. I can tell you some of the best parties of my childhood was after someone died. And my dad's side of the family would always get together after at somebody's house, and it would turn into a party, and it would be a lot like Christmas. And the kids are playing, and there's tons of food, and there's music, and it was so fun. It was like impromptu party. And I really had a good time. Like, okay, we're all going back to our house. And for me and my cousins, we're the party organizers of it. So we're like, okay, we got to get this ready and do that. And we really kind of made a game out of it and had fun. I think we even used Monopoly money and gave it to our parents and said, okay, here's your money for drinks tonight. And then we'd make the drinks, and they'd have to pay us the Monopoly money. And then we would be the bartenders and go back and bring them drinks. This is Wisconsin, and we were about 8.
You were giving out drink tickets as a child.
I was 8. Yeah, right around there. It went on from like probably 8 to about 12, somewhere around, or even younger. I'd say like probably 5 to 12 was the age range where these things were happening when someone kicked it.
Good God almighty.
And this was a good family. Like, this is not, we're not talking, we're going out to the boonies and, everybody's like not wearing a shirt or something. These are normal people. It was a very balanced family. There really wasn't a lot of internal issues. It was a very loving family, but this is just kind of how they operated. It was jovial and it was fun. And I guess, I feel the same. If I die, I want people to enjoy the day. If you're all together, have fun. I don't think I'd want, all the, let's all cry in the corner. No, so I think we did it the right way. I don't think like maybe the intentions were that like, let's celebrate life. I think it was more like, let's get drunk. But that's how it went.
And I agree. Funerals nowadays, I think it's an interesting thing to think about how you would like your funeral to be. But I think maybe many, many years ago, there just wasn't that kind of thought process into it. And these parties would just erupt afterwards. It wasn't planned, was it?
No, you get everybody together and it's like, well, we like, people are all different areas of the state. Like, well, we're all together. Why don't we all get together? We got the afternoon. People are here for the night. And we'd go and do something at somebody's house, or sometimes it would be like at the Holiday Inn if everybody's there, if we're out of town. And it was actually very enjoyable. I honestly say it was no one looked forward to anybody dying, but it was a family get together that otherwise we didn't have many of those on my dad's side because it just didn't happen much.
That's so sad that it takes somebody dying to have the family get together.
It is, but the grandparents, my dad's parents, had been killed in a car accident many years earlier, even before I was born. So there wasn't kind of that anchoring unit that was like, okay, let's all go to grandma's for Christmas or Thanksgiving. It didn't happen. We would usually get together once a year for some sort of Christmas, but it would be like in February when everybody had time. So there just wasn't that with that group, but fun group. When I was up there at Thanksgiving, it was the first time all of us had been together in probably 20 some years. And it was the same group I remember, except I was old enough to drink now. and so were my cousins. And we had a blast. It's a really fun, good, loving family. But yeah, that was, that was interesting when you look back on it.
Well, and it's so fun how you just pick up right where you left off with these people, even though you haven't been around them. You're just a little bit older, but it's still the same relationship. Or
get to know them. Because like some of my cousins, like I hardly knew. Like we saw pictures of each other growing up, but we're in different states and such. And it's like, I know nothing about you, but it's like we have a lot in common. And that's always interesting. So I can't say I have any horror stories like that with get-togethers because I was lucky. I was very fortunate that ours went good.
Absolutely.
But hey, there's always time,
Well, yeah, we're not done yet,
there's
right?
Plenty of people to die. So there's more get-togethers to come. What else we got on today?
Well, this is from Miss A. I bet you haven't heard a family story like this. We'll call this story Pam and the Pool of Blood. One day I was hanging out with my mother in the kitchen while she was deciding on what to cook, either for breakfast or lunch. I forget the time of day. This story took place a couple of years ago when I was still in high school, and I'm now in my late 20s. My mother went to grab the Pam spray. Now we know the was a yellow can of spray to spray the skillet. And as soon as she was done, the can slipped out of her hand and landed on her big toe. She looked fine and bent over to pick up the can off of the floor. The moment she moved her foot, her toe started gushing out blood.
Oh, God.
I went to grab some paper towels for her, and she was just staring at her toe, confused, saying, well, that's just crazy. I can't believe a can of Pam could cut a person's foot open.
God.
I was trying to clean up the blood when she called for my eldest brother to come in and see what had happened. When he came in and saw the blood, he said, what in the hell happened in here? My mother laughed and told him that the can of spray slipped out of her hand, landed on her toe, and now her toe was bleeding. My brother immediately called bullshit. He got the Pam spray can and looked at the bottom, noting that it was too smooth to cut anyone's foot. My mother argued that it had cut her because obviously she's bleeding now on the kitchen floor. Well, my brother, curious to know how this could have happened, held the Pam spray can over his foot and dropped it. It nicked the tip of his big toe, and sure enough, his toe started bleeding out. Now, both my mother and eldest brother are just standing there, both arms on their hips in a curious pose, staring in amazement that a simple can of cooking spray just cut open their toes.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm laughing because this type of stuff is normal for my family, but it didn't stop there. My eldest brother called my other older brother into the kitchen, and the same thing happened. He was also convinced to do it, and the next thing you know, we have 3 adults standing in the middle of the kitchen, big toes cut open, watching as blood is gushing out of their cuts in amazement and amusement. I don't know that this is a memory I'm really fond of, but it's something that comes to mind and often puts a smile on my face every time. I grew up thinking my family was kind of like the Addams family in the kookiest kind of way. My eldest brother looks like Uncle Fester from the movie adaptations, which I always thought was awesome. And by the way, a little note here, it says, I love listening to your podcasts, and for Ghost Stories Online, I'm still catching up. And when I do get ready for me to tell my very haunting tells, because with the spooky family, there's always some spooky tells to tell.
That's interesting. It sounds like, I mean, there's like, it's not like, oh my God, my family's completely crazy. It was almost like a bonding moment as they dropped the Pam on their toes.
Like an initiation into the family.
It's like, now let's put our toes together and now we're blood brothers. Yeah. With a little bit of Pam on there. Wow. Well, I would be surprised too that a thing of Pam would cut your toe open, because it's usually a fairly light bottle and it's aluminum and it's not.
Now I'm curious. I've got one. It's the olive oil based.
Yeah. I almost want to get
Pam in the kitchen.
I almost am curious enough to go get a thing of Pam and see what happens.
I'm actually thinking about it, which makes me really disturbed that I would think about doing that, because I hate stubbing my toes. I hate that feeling. It really hurts.
Oh God. Yeah. I still have a foot injury from, we were at I think it was Bowling for Kids' Sake in like 2000-ish. Mm-hmm. And yeah, one of our part-timers, who was always really kind of weird. And I never knew what his deal was. Just very aloof, I guess I would say. He picked up the bowling ball and it dropped on my foot. And it was a hairline fracture that I got because I went and got it looked at.
Well, of course it was. These things are just dead weight.
And they're like, well, there's really nothing we can do. Wear shoes that are, that have good support. So I did that for a while and it got better. But I can feel it now, especially when it gets cold out and the pressure changes. I can feel that little place in my foot. And I always think back to the bowling ball and Bowling for Kids' Sake in Wausau, Wisconsin. You were there, I think. I'm pretty sure you were there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah. That was dropping shit on your foot. Always a good time. What I notice now as I get older too, when I stub my toe or I hit it on something, it doesn't go away. It's like, I think I did permanent damage every time I stub my toe.
Oh, I'm sure your nerve endings there are just like, urgent.
I'd like to see my bone structure of because I'm like, there's got to be a lot of little spurs and stuff down there, because it's like sometimes it just hurts to walk.
Did he do it on purpose? I mean, seriously on purpose, or was it an accident?
I think it was an accident, but he was an idiot. And it was, I didn't understand how it happened or why it happened. It was just very bizarre. And he was always a very bizarre character. So I don't know. I really do not know what, I don't think it was with intent, but also.
Yeah, but some people are just weird enough that you just don't know.
That's where kind of sad, because I'm like, I wouldn't believe that he would do it on purpose, but I also don't see exactly how it occurred without there being some sort of intent there, the way it all kind of went down.
Well, yeah, when you're holding a bowling ball, you've got your 3 fingers in the ball, holding it securely. So how do you just lose a bowling ball?
Yeah, I mean, I know it can happen, but it was just, and the weird thing too is there wasn't much apology. It was just
whoops.
Can I have my ball? Not oh my God, I'm sorry, I just dropped it on your foot. There was no emotion. And this guy always had no emotion too. That's where I was always like, because I like the profile of a serial killer over here. I was always I never wanted to be in the building late at night alone with this person for fear that I'd end up in a trash can on the porch at the end of the day.
I'm scratching my head a little bit. I don't want you to reveal the name, but I'm trying to remember who it was.
I'll tell you off the air.
Okay.
I had another one, and I'll just go on this. It's nothing to do with the bowling ball, but a crazy person who, and I forgot what his name was. He was a part-timer for a very short period of time, and we had to fire him because...
The guy with the snakes.
What guy with the snakes?
Wasn't there was a guy who lived in a... Oh, I forget the name of the apartment buildings downtown.
Was that crazy?
They're haunted.
Was that crazy Joe DeVola?
Yes.
Yeah, he was an interesting one too. But there was another one where he made the paper because he was like doing like overnights. He was always a little weird too, but he shot his brother in the ass with a bow and arrow.
What?
And it made news. And then we had to get rid of him. And then he was really mad that we fired him, and he said like horrible shit to us. And, he just kind of disappeared. Then years later, I'm working at a country station in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Yes, Oshkosh, Bagosh, Oshkosh. And doing nights. It's late. The station is in the middle of a fucking cornfield. And there's nothing around it. It's just building. And not much light out there. There's no one's going to hear me scream. And I'm the only one in the building. And all of a sudden, like 11:30 at night, someone starts banging on the front glass door of the building.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I go out there, and it's him. And I hadn't seen him in probably a year at least or longer. And I knew he didn't, at the time, last I talked to him, he really didn't like me because I'm the one who canned him. And he's like, hey, I was in the area, and I heard you on the radio. I just thought I'd stop by and say hi.
Most people don't know where radio stations are located, so that's a bit creepy.
And I was like, oh. And he kind of like pushed his way into the building because he was kind of a bigger guy and I was not. And I'm like, shit, he's like, what do so I was just like super nice to him because I didn't know. And the thing never came up about being fired. I was just like really kind of like being uber positive, like, hey, how you doing this or doing that? He's like, oh, I got a job. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And just, please don't kill me.
Killed him with kindness.
Without being, obvious that please don't kill me. And then he left and it was peaceful. But I thought he was going to fucking show up and like kill me with a bow and arrow or shiv me or something.
Oh my God.
I forgot what his name was, but he was another dandy. But good old days.
We had a DJ that he was very good. On air, off air, out of his mind. And this was the snake guy. And I thought you were still there then. We had to fire him.
We had to bring the police in to fire him, that guy, because he was making threats against our engineers.
Yeah.
And like he was saying he was going to kill them, which you can't do in a workplace. He's like, I was just being sarcastic. Like, you can't do that. He was also really big into hacking. Like he hacked into, I think, the company's like computer system from his house and all sorts of other shit. And
he did. He gave me a link that I could send to my mom in Minneapolis so she could listen to us before streaming ever existed.
Yeah.
That's how good he was.
Yeah, he set up a stream at his house, I remember. And he gave me like a CD with a bunch of hacked software on it that was like sound editing stuff, which I really loved. It was great to have at the time. But he was another
somebody who needed to use his evil powers for good. He could have done some amazing things if he just wasn't half a bubble off,
Yeah, exactly. It could have gone. I wonder whatever happened because I just knew him by his on-air name, which we called him Crazy Joe DeVola, on air, and we kind of played off the Seinfeld thing.
Yeah,
and I don't remember what his real name was, so I have no idea what he's up to today.
Well, and I blocked him on all social media because of the crazy factor, we're not getting into that.
We didn't even have social media back then.
No, I mean, I recently have, like, within the last probably 6-7 years, he popped up somewhere and I went, oh, hell no, block, remove.
Oh, wow. If you remember what his name is, let me know. I'd be curious just to see.
God, yeah, I can't remember
what prison system he's been in and out of. But anyway, that's going to wrap up today's episode of My Crazy Family. If you have a crazy family story, we would absolutely love to hear it. All you got to do is go to crazyfampod.com, send it in there. There's a form to send it in through, or you can call toll free 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and share your story with us at 833-CRAY-FAM. That's 833-272-9326. Until next time, for Stacy, I am Tony. Thanks for listening to My Crazy Family.
My crazy
family.
My crazy
family.